All right, folks. Welcome to the Night's Watch. I'm Jacob.
I'm Alex.
And we got lots to talk about today. We got some news and some notes.
We got the Central preview.
Yes, finally, some good fucking teams to talk about.
Yeah, took long enough.
All right, well, let's get into it. First big news of the week. Leon Draisaitl signs his extension.
$8 by $14 million.
So we haven't really talked about it since the news dropped. But what thoughts, feelings?
I mean, this is what we kind of pegged it at, right?
Yeah.
Last episode, I think you and I both said about 14 because was going to be the highest player in hockey, and the highest player in hockey was Austin Matthews at like around 13 and change.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only logical to put him at 14. The thing that really brings to mind is like no one's talking about it as much, but this is just another Leafs situation, but on the West Coast. I mean, you're going to get 14. Obviously not this season. He's going to get 14, and it's going to go with McDavid's 12.
Yeah,
but then
Bouchard is due.
Bouchard's due. So Bouchard and McDavid are due at the same time. So McDavid should get 15.5 to 16, put you at $30 million. Bouchard, by all means, being a very young defenseman that's very good offensively, should you get, I would say, 10? I would say at minimum.
Probably.
And that puts you at $40 million. And then you've got Darnell Nurse's bloated corpse. So now you're at $50 million. And yeah, you could say the cap goes up, but the cap's not going to go up to $115 million in 2 years. It's probably going to max out at like, 95 maybe?
Probably.
And so you're way over 50% between four players. And then they'll have to sign Stuart Skinner, and Matthias Ekholm's getting older. The rest of that defense is trash. They have no prospects that are coming through.
Well, you know who they're not going to have to sign is Philip Broberg or Dylan Holloway.
Well, yeah, and they just lost both of those guys. I mean, it's just going to be another Leaf situation, but I think worse, like far worse, because, I know McDavid and Draisaitl are the two best hockey players in the world. I'm not denying that. I'll freely give it to them. But as we saw last year, yeah, they took them to the final, but two guys can't carry a team to win a cup. It was close, but it's just because Florida took off the gas that, those last few games.
And that's the thing. I hate that. I've been hearing it from everyone so much lately. Well, they were a goal away. And I'm like, not really.
Not really.
Because they went down by 3.
Yep. They had to scratch and fucking claw to get back in that series.
And honestly, I put it more on Florida,
not closing it out,
Florida having jitters, closing game jitters more than anything else. And then when they decided to put their game faces on, it was a 1-goal game, but that game did not feel
wasn't close. Yeah, it wasn't close. After the first 10 minutes, it was...
As soon as Florida scored the first one, I was like, it's over.
Yep. Yeah, and they were going to strangle.
Even when Edmonton tied it, I was like, it's still over.
Yeah, and...
But yeah, I will say, I don't hate the contract. I think it's fair.
Yeah, I agree.
Even though, 14's a big number, but I don't think there's a single person that think this... It's certainly not a discount.
No.
But it's not an overpay.
No.
It's very fair.
No, it's exactly what he's been in the top 5 in scoring for the last 5 years, 6 years.
I'll just say as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
And then I think what sets it apart from the Toronto situation is that he actually performs in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, this year after he didn't perform at all in the final, right? He didn't score. Maybe he had a point, but he didn't score any in the final. I think that was the big thing.
I don't recall because, honestly, I didn't give a shit. I was just waiting for them to lose. But I will say that, that's still much farther than most Canadian teams get. So
true. Very true.
I would still qualify him as a playoff performer. So fair contract, but I agree. They are going to get pretty top-heavy pretty quick. And basically, it's Toronto East.
Yeah.
Toronto East.
And that's the big thing is, I'm not defending Toronto's contract, but at least Toronto's it's good players. And then because you're paying Nurse $9 million, I know we could say McDavid and Draisaitl show up in the playoffs. That's very notable. That's an important part. But you're paying Darnell Nurse $9.25 million.
And then whatever Bouchard gets, I will always say it's an overpay because I'm like, he can produce points, but he sure shit can't defend.
Yeah, it's just a younger version of Erik Karlsson.
Pretty much. And so there's always going to be people that stroke him off, but call me old-fashioned, Alex. I think the best defenseman on the team should at least be able to play on your penalty kill.
Yeah. I mean, Matthias Ekholm is the only reason why his numbers are like a semblance of good. If he was playing with a worse defenseman, his numbers would be terrible.
He would have like 50 points and somehow be like a minus 20.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, yeah, it's like we said, it's a perfect contract. I think it's exactly what we all thought he was going to get. Not overpaid, not underpaid. It's just they're going to get locked into four contracts. They're probably going to ask Bouchard to take a discount. I wouldn't. He's a young,
fuck that.
offensive dynamo defenseman. Why would you take a discount? That's what's going to happen because McDavid's going to get the money. Obviously, even if it's like he takes 15, right? He doesn't take a $60 million contract. He should get a raise regardless. Then you're not going to want to pay Bouchard 10, even though he would deserve 10 at that point. He's on like a $4 million bridge deal right now.
He's definitely, as much as
he's underpaid for the points.
As much as I criticize him, he's definitely underpaid for the
point production. And if it's all evidence of other defensemen that produce points like him, he should be getting paid close to $10 million. I think the Hughes contract, they'll probably try to use as evidence, but Quinn Hughes also... He can defend.
He's gotten much better at it the last few years.
Exactly. He's gotten better at it, and he's also probably more of a along the lines of
fucking captain.
So
he's the leader.
He'll take that. What's Seth Jones' contract? Like $11 million? $11 million?
It's like 10 and a half.
And then Rowinski's close to 9. And then... I would be very surprised if he didn't come back and say I need at least 8 to 9. That would be the floor.
I think
Bouchard.
I don't think he needs to look outside of the club. I think he'd be like, well, Darnell makes
he's
9.
And he's dog shit.
Who would you rather have, me or Darnell?
Yeah, and then you can't trade that Nurse contract. Nobody will take the Nurse contract.
Oh no.
Even if you get 50% retained and 25% retained on top of that, that's still like $3 million for a bad fucking defenseman.
If someone takes that contract, it's not going to be because they want his services. They're like, yeah, we'll take it for a first round pick.
But Edmonton has no first round picks to give either.
Yep.
Like they've traded them. They're like similar position to we are. Like no one talks about that just because they have McDavid and Draisaitl. Their cupboards are bare.
Oh yeah, easily.
So, but we'll see. I mean, we'll see how that's coming up, and it probably resets the market for forwards. I mean, there's not too many more forwards outside of McDavid that are going to get paid close to that coming up. Everybody's been paid so far.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of anyone else like big. I do wonder because it's 2 years away. I wonder what Eichel's going to look like.
Yeah,
I know he's not quite on that level, but I don't know, man. He's like, I mean, he's making 10 now.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be perfectly
12?
okay like 12. I'd be
13,
happy with that. With 12, we'll see. I mean, it depends if he like really produces.
Yeah.
I think he's also very happy here. So.
Yeah. Well, as I was telling you earlier, Elliot Friedman mentioned on the new 32 Thoughts. Despite popular belief, Vegas has zero problem keeping guys because everyone wants to play here. Noah Hannafin wanted to play in Tampa, then he played here for a few weeks and was like, "Just kidding, I'll sign a max extension in Vegas."
Hurdle wanted to stay here on multiple years.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we'll be okay. A few other things, some VGK news. So they had the round of player interviews with Lawless. I think Stone was the first one, and that was the big one with...
yeah, we talked about it last week where, everyone wants to see us crash and burn. Everyone's like, no, kind of proving the point by how feverish their responses were.
Yeah,
that was great.
I also like the big thing there was like he said it's the best he's felt. He's the best last year up until the spleen injury was the best he felt in years with his back. And then the same now, he feels great. So I think that's really good. And then they Lawless spoke with Hurdle, and Hurdle had nothing but good things to say and how excited he was, how he feels great and ready to go.
That was another thing Friedman said was he saw Hurdle in Prague in the offseason. And he was like, "Yeah, he's in great shape, and he seems super fucking psyched."
Hell yeah!
So I'm ready for a big Tomas Hurdle year.
Yep, me too. And then they also spoke with Hannafin, and his was a lot more serious than the others.
I kind of get a sense of his personality through that one.
Yeah, very serious guy. I was even like looking up, obviously with the Gaudreau stuff. So he played with them in Calgary. Noah Hannafin doesn't have social media.
Yeah, shit.
He's not on anything, so he's a serious guy. I think he's in there for business, and obviously signing that long contract means he's ready for the long term. And then I was
gonna say real quick about Hannafin. I already know he's gonna be good just because of that huge fucking goal in game 6 against Dallas to keep us alive.
Yep, I'm excited for him. So excited. And the last guy they spoke to this week going into the Golf Classic was Holtz. And he's also extremely excited. He said that he landed this last weekend and was just tired, but like he's been texting nonstop with Carlson all summer. And I think Carlson's
other little Swedish meatball on the team.
I think Carlson's like super excited to finally have another Swede on the team. I don't think we've had another Swede since like maybe
Oscar Dansk.
Oscar, if he's Swedish, I think it's what's his name, Sven Biershi, but he barely really played. He played like a game or two. Not that many Swedes on the team. I think he's excited, and plus, and he in his interview he said like, I'm excited to score. Like the thing I think I texted you, I was like, a line that I really liked was he's like, I know how to get open, and I know how to score, I know how to finish. I'm like, perfect.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm like that line. I'm like, this kid's ready to go.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it goes. I guess I'm in a good mood today, so I'm feeling optimistic about it. When I'm in a bad mood, I'm not optimistic about it. But
I think he's one of the bigger question marks on the new arrivals.
His defensive play worries me. His skating worries me. But yeah, I do like that confidence of this guy's a shooter. Good shot.
And he's younger enough to still learn things.
Yeah, and then also what I think is that I just keep randomly thinking. We see what Bruce Cassidy turned Michael Amadio into. Yeah. I have no problem believing that he can get the best out of Holtz.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm excited for him.
He's quite literally betting on it.
Yeah,
so.
He's only 22 still, and like we've talked about a few times, and we'll talk about it next week when we do the Pacific. Even if he's a question mark, you still have Brisson, you still have Ron Buehrig, you still have options.
And that was one thing that kind of hit home for me how young he is, because I keep forgetting like he's only 22.
22 years old. He's a kid. He's still on his first contract.
I was going to say, what stood out to me was, The Athletic, they did their recent prospect rankings. They're all right. Number one on Vegas's list is Holtz. I'm like, Holtz? And it's like, oh, yeah, well, because this list is for, under 23. And I was like, oh, shit. He
immediately jumps to the number one spot. It's him, then Connolly, then Brisson, probably.
And Cam Whitehead.
Yeah. But the little, we can get into it in the future, but I'm excited about like our goalie prospects and everything. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's only 22, very young. Still on his first contract. I think he's going to be an RFA, so I would assume he wants to play well this year to earn that contract. And I'm excited for him.
He's in a warm environment, which he also voiced his support of.
He mentioned that he loves the heat and he likes being in Vegas. I'm like, perfect.
Yep, he's got a Swedish bro here to look after him.
Yeah, he's probably staying at Carlson's house.
I was gonna say,
probably staying at Carlson's like a little casita or something.
Yeah, so I'm sure he'll be having plenty of dinners over at Wild Bill's house. And
because he was talking about like Swedish Christmas and like certain like meats and stuff. I'm like, Carlson probably has all of that.
Come over, bro.
He's like, I got you. I got a direct fucking plug to the Sweden. But yeah, I mean, I think it's great that Holtz is going to be here. He's got a lot to prove, I think, coming off and he played 82 games, but it wasn't an incredible season.
I think it's going to be like I really do think this year might be kind of like a chip on the shoulder type year.
I love it. Yeah, I prefer it
because he's probably his beans are probably steamed getting traded away on his entry level contract.
Look who's gotten him, and then Olofsson didn't get re-signed despite being Buffalo his entire career. And
he's been a Olofsson 20-something plus goals scorer
every year except for last season.
Yeah, then he has one bad year, and suddenly he can only get a $1 million deal. So he's probably also
pissed. Yeah. And then obviously
speaking of Swedish meatballs, we should just have the Swedish line: Olofsson, Carlson, Holtz.
Oh yeah, that's right. Olofsson is Swedish. I forgot about that. It's sick. I'm getting more excited.
The Swedish meatballs.
But then they also had, I mentioned it briefly, they had the Golf Classic this year, which they talked to a lot of players. Mm-hmm. I think they talked to Carlson briefly. He's super excited to be back. A lot of guys were there. I think I saw Carlson, Stone, Petro, Keegan Colasar. I think we talked about this where they had a quote from Cassidy about Colasar.
I posted it on the socials.
Yeah.
We didn't get a chance to talk about it face to face, but credit to him. Chris Chapman asked Cassidy, hey, you lose Marsh, so obviously you lose all that production, but you also lose a pretty big leader.
Very true. Yeah.
How are you guys going to deal with that? And he basically said, like, we have a strong room. He's like, there's a lot of leaders in there. And he's like, and honestly, he's like, I think you can look, even to the identity guys like Howden or Colasar, they have that in them. And I just thought it was really interesting that, especially more so in the case of Colasar, that he was one of the first names that
came out of Cassidy's mouth.
Yeah, that Bruce thought of, because
you think of like Stone and Carlson and Petro and
and that, and it wasn't too long ago that we saw Colasar make his debut as a rookie, and we're all like, who the fuck is this guy, and why is he playing over Cody Glass?
Yep.
And then turns out it was the right decision.
Perfect in his role. Yeah.
one thing that Ken from Sinbin always points out is every coach we've had has chosen to put Kolsar in the lineup over guys with more skill,
If he's healthy,
or guys
he's
with
in.
guys with a bigger reputation. Like he's always in.
Yeah, because he just does the job right. I mean, there's the hockey analytic. I think it's like Jay Fresh that does the percentages. And every year in defense, in defense, and in like just defense hitting, like all the things you want him to do at his position, he's in like the top 90%.
Yeah, and he has a decent Corsi too, so he's
Yeah.
Basically, the puck is usually in their end compared to our end when he's on the
they're
ice.
great at keeping it out. They're
He
great
was
at.
he was fourth in the NHL in hits last
Doesn't
year.
he kill penalties too?
I think he has once or twice, but I don't think he's a
not
regular.
Like, he's not like an option number one.
Yeah.
He'll go in if like our penalty killer is in the box.
Yeah, I feel like maybe I've seen him once a while ago, but so not really a special teams guy. But
he does everything else. He does everything you want to do as a fourth liner. And even sometimes he can go in the third line, but he does everything you want him to do in that role.
Yeah, he's fast. He forechecks.
He hits. He fights.
And I feel like people boil it down to like, well, he doesn't win his fights. I'm like, yeah, you're right, but there's a reason why we let go of Reeves and kept Kolsar.
Yeah, he does everything right on the ice.
He does. Yeah, he actually plays better
in game.
And I think, maybe he doesn't win all of his fights or even most of them, but the guys in the room, when they see someone's willing to stick up for them, that means a lot, and that's probably why Bruce mentioned him as one of the leaders.
I love it. Yep.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just wanted to talk about that because it seems like basically ever since he's been here, there's been kind of a section of the fan base that is constantly downplaying him, constantly, when's 55 going to be riding in the pine? I'm so sick of him. I'm like, why?
Like, there's guys that come in for that role. You bring in guys to play a bottom six role.
Who would you rather have, Keegan Kolsar or Anthony Mantha?
Keegan Kolsar.
Yeah, easy.
There's a guy you bring in to play a bottom six role.
I love Cody, but who would you rather have kept, Keegan Kolsar or Cody Glass?
Keegan Kolsar 100% of the time.
Yep. So
especially now.
He has a job and he does it well.
Yeah, and I agree. I think as long as he keeps doing it, he's going to be on the team for a long time.
Any fucking team in this league would be happy to have a fourth line guy like that making $1.7 million that has that effect on the ice.
Yep.
And let's not forget that he and William Carrier basically fucking eliminated Dallas single-handedly the year before last.
That fourth line tore apart Dallas at the end of that series.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Just manhandled them. And let's not forget about Nick Waugh either. But
obviously.
Speaking of Nick Waugh, did you see that? He finally got a Stanley Cup tattoo. That big ass
and
one
it
on his
didn't
leg.
look like shit unlike most of the other ones.
Yeah, actually, it was like a really well done tattoo.
Yeah, because at first I was like, it's not like that inspired as far as design. It's just the cross swords and the cup. But then when I looked at it, I was like, damn, like
the shading's good, the line work's good.
What kind of, I have tattoos. I spend most of my time, daydreaming about when I can finally afford my next one, and then / looking at tattoos on Instagram.
Yep.
I was looking at it, I was like, damn, I don't know. I don't see a lot of tattoos where they somehow make it look shiny and reflective.
Yeah,
I don't know
whoever he paid did a really good job.
Yeah, unlike Aiden Hill, I love Aiden, but that tattoo was
not good. I think Jack's placement was just ill-advised.
Jack's was very well executed, but design-wise, it was pretty boring.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, Nick Waz actually had some good, like you said, shine to it, despite being a tattoo, and it was
boys,
nice.
Get some American traditionalism. Okay,
exactly.
Get some creativity. Get some artistic juices.
Agreed. And then from there, one more big Vegas news is Trevor Connolly was coaching the under 14 hockey players of color team to a silver medal at the Amerigol Latam Cup. I believe it's a tournament for like Latin American, just countries and teams that you don't hear about. Like I know there's a Cuban team, Puerto Rico. Like there's some team from the
Brazil.
Middle East, like some Egyptian teams and stuff. He coached a team that was just all players of color, and he coached it last year as well. And I guess he stays close with a couple of the guys and just kind of mentors them and talks about hockey with them. It goes over video. I mean, I know we were sour on the pick, in his past.
I was going to say, well, shall we get into our personal reactions to this?
I know we were both sour on him. I think a lot of the fan base was too. I know we saw online like he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. The kid probably was a top 10 talent, but the personality and the character issues drove him down.
Again, I'm only going to repeat it because we're talking about it. I know I said previously I don't want to relitigate this whole thing every time his name comes up. But those character issues were, racial. Some of them, not all of them.
Creating a swastika out of like Legos.
Yeah, possibly yelling a slur at a player on the ice.
And then
pretty bad things, right?
Yeah,
these are obviously bad things.
You would hope maybe he did this this tournament last year and coached him good, but you would also hope I kind of expect is that Kelly probably talked to him and said you're not going to cut it out here if this shit keeps happening.
Well, and that's the thing. Was this like a genuine thing he wanted to do personally, or is it like his agent just doing PR work? And then
right.
Obviously that the article about it was written by Gordon Weirs, who's like the #1 PR man for Vegas.
Sure.
But whether it was that, whether it was a personal motivation, to me, the end result was the same. The end result was that he actually did it.
Yep.
He followed through.
And he still coached well. And like he
coached well. And those kids had a huge boost probably.
Yeah, those kids
This is going to be a great memory for them. Maybe some of those kids are going to keep going and make it to a pro team one day.
Yeah.
That the actual tangible effect is there. He helped these kids. Is it enough? I can't make that call. Was his heart in it? I don't know. I've never met him.
No,
I decided.
Exactly.
Personally, I decided. I'm like, I'm not going to be cynical about this. I'm not going to get into well, he's only doing it because that type of stuff. I'm like, here are the facts. He did something wrong, and he's been consistently trying to make up for it and do things that shows that he's reformed himself as a person.
Right.
This is much more than that piece of shit kid from Boston ever did. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. And then the kid,
he didn't bury his head in the sand.
Nope.
He didn't refuse to do it. He said, all right, let's do this thing. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, the kid from Boston that just didn't do that. Or the kid Montreal picked, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Logan Mailloux.
Yeah, and then, but yeah, he's at least, I guess, trying. We'll see. I mean, we won't say whether one or the other, but
I'm just trying to be honest about my feelings. I don't know if I'm coming off as negative, but I think I want to clarify. I think this is a great story. I love this.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I love that he's doing this,
and it's great. It made me a little less sour on the pick and a little bit more optimistic for his future as a Knight.
Yeah,
so
yeah, and even if it's like just coaching anywhere, he's like doing a service to like youth hockey to like help with younger kids, help them coach, and help them get to even like half of what the prospect he is. I think that's really good. Yeah.
That being said, one of my biggest fears is when he gets his first call up, someone is going to write an article saying like, well, it was actually much worse than you thought.
Yeah, yeah.
But again, that's just speculation and negativity. I don't want to go there.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And as I remind myself, we don't actually know these people, so they can all be secretly pieces of shit.
Yeah, we're on the periphery. Yeah,
money does strange things to people.
Not everybody's just every man like Phil Kessel.
Yes, and not everyone can be Phil Kessel. All these guys grew up relatively rich, so,
exactly,
and they're white, so
exactly.
Put two and two together.
So going from that, we're gonna get into the Central Division preview.
Yeah,
finally,
some good fucking teams to talk about.
We're a little biased because we're on the West Coast, obviously, but I think the Centrals might be the best division in hockey.
Maybe, yeah.
I think so. Like we were talking about before we started recording, even the bad teams are better than some of the middle ground teams in the Atlantic and the Metro.
Yeah.
Like I would take Chicago over like fucking half of the Metro.
Same. And
like, that's bad to say, but like
I'll say not to spoil my ranking, but I think there's like one clear team at the bottom, and then after that, I'm like, I can make a case.
Yeah,
for
you can
a
make
lot
a case
of these,
for any of these. Like
Yeah,
I would agree. I mean, I guess we can get into it.
Yeah, so
8th place last year was Chicago.
Yeah.
You wrote some notes down. They were 23, 53, and 6 at 52 points. So obviously they were
pretty
awful.
bad. Pretty goddamn bad.
Only second to what? St. Louis? Not St. Louis, I'm sorry. San Jose. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was a race to the bottom. San Jose narrowly edged them out with some of those 10-game losing streaks.
Exactly. Could you imagine fucking Bedard and Celebrini on the same team? Chicago was 8th last year, and then so 8th this year.
3, 2, 1.
Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that being said, I think they're going to be a lot better.
I think they'll be marginally better. I do agree. I have a few notes. I kind of stole your idea that you've been doing, writing a few notes down. This team would have been really good 5 years ago.
Yeah.
We'll get into the lineup in a second. And I also wrote down, what is Davidson doing?
Yeah, because there was a lot of additions.
And
we
then,
had
we
had Tyler Bertuzzi, Timo
Yep.
Teravainen, Ilya Mikheyev, Sam Lafferty,
Alec Martinez,
our boy Alec Martinez,
TJ Brody.
And then our other boy Laurent Brossoit. These are
Laurent Brossoit got injured. He's not going to play until December.
Oh shit!
He not injured. He had to get surgery for an injury. I think something with his hip again or his lower body. He's not playing, so they're going to have fucking Peter Mrazek and whoever else is behind him. And I speaking of those names, I wrote down unnecessarily old.
Yeah. You look at those ages, and so it's kind of a world of extremes. There's a couple of 19-year-olds, and then a couple, 19,
35-year-olds,
and then it just kind of jumps to 35, 36.
Yeah, 33. So we'll go through the lineup. It's Tyler Bertuzzi. For right now on Hockey News, it's Tyler Bertuzzi, Connor Bedard, Teuvo Teravainen, which I think is a decent line.
That looks like a legitimate line.
First line, yeah, like an actual good line.
Not a lot of team. I don't think they had a legitimate line last year.
Yeah, and you got Bertuzzi that can score, but also he can get nasty if he needs to. If someone's messing with Bedard, Teravainen scores, and he's very good. And then you've got Taylor Hall, Tennessee, and then Philip Kurashev. That's when it starts kind of falling apart.
Yeah, Athanasiou is fast, but that's like kind of his
not,
own. That's his only.
He's not
trick.
A second line center.
No, not at all. He's like a fringe bottom six.
And
guy.
then speaking of old, Nick Foligno at 37.
Damn.
Jason Dickinson.
I do like Jason Dickinson.
I do like him a lot too.
I was kind of hoping we would target him at the trade deadline last year.
Yeah, I like Jason Dickinson. And then Lucas Reichel. And
nice young talent.
Yep. And then Ilya Mikheyev came over from, I think, the Leafs. I thought he was younger than 30.
I thought he was younger than that too. He was on Toronto for a while, but he got traded like a year or two ago. I can't tell you where he was because he frankly has not made an impact wherever he is.
And then Ryan Donato, who's been a pretty solid fourth line center for Chicago, and then Patrick Maroon.
He's there for the vibes.
Yeah, I think this team is like this forward group is there's obviously talent.
They obviously got better.
They got better, but they're
definitely not.
They've got
good.
Slower too. Maroon and Foligno and Mikheyev, and
it does feel like there's like too many veterans.
Yes, I agree. That's something. That's
what
I meant when
two.
That's what I meant when I said, "What is Davidson doing?" Like he leaned too hard into bringing the veterans to teach the kids, to where it's like you brought in veterans, and half these guys are going to get injured sometime during the season.
Which is true, but then at the same time, we both have them at 8th. I don't know where they're going to be league-wide, because I think San Jose is going to be a little better. They'll probably they should still get a high draft pick.
Yeah, I mean, who's the number one guy this year? James Higgins, I think.
For who?
The number one.
Oh,
Higgins,
honestly,
right?
I'm so bad with prospects. I don't have a fucking clue.
I think it's Higgins and like Michael Misa, and there's like a couple other guys sprinkled in.
Regardless, I guarantee you this team will have a top 5 pick. And then I'm sure they're going to get more. They're probably going to get more picks at the deadline, which is another thing to consider with bringing in veterans. I'm not looking at their contracts right now.
You can trade some of these out. You could trade Tyler Bertuzzi because he's only on a 2-year contract. You can trade Jason Dickinson. He's on a 1-year contract.
Taylor Hall.
You can trade that entire second line outside of maybe Kurashev if you want to, because they're all UFAs in 2025. You can trade Ryan Donato. You can trade all these players outside of Connor Bedard.
Agreed.
And Teuvo Teravainen.
And then the young guys, Lucas Reichel. And all that. Yeah, happy to see our boy Martinez.
Yeah, and then on the defense,
he wanted to keep playing, so it's always good to see those guys get contracts.
Yeah, on the defense, they've got Alex Vlasic, who I really like. He's 6'6", and he got a pretty good deal, $4.6 million. He's a good defenseman. He's young still. And then Seth Jones.
So this answers our previous question.
9.5 million.
That's still too much.
That's still a lot of money.
That's still too
much. And then Alec Martinez, obviously we love him, but at 37 for $4 million, it's a little much.
Another clear case of there to shelter the young guys.
Yeah, and then TJ Brody, who's just not been good at 34, and he's getting paid almost $4 million too. Geez. And then Wyatt Kaiser, who's I think one of the young guys, and Connor Murphy. I do frankly believe that Kevin Korchinski will play this year a lot more. He will play probably in whoever's injured between Martinez and Brody. He's very good. I think he's a good young defenseman. And then their goalies are Peter Mrazek, and it's probably going to be Arvid Soderblom because,
as you said, Brossoit will be injured.
Brossoit's getting surgery. Soderblom was not good last year in the games that he played. He was pretty awful, and Mrazek was obviously the team was awful last year. Nobody's going to be good on the team. I mean, obviously Bedard was like the one shining spot, but
the team. I think it's Chicago. the only excitement is for the young guys. They're not going to do anything.
I do agree with you. They lean too hard into the veterans. I think they should have stopped at TiVo Teravainen and Tyler Bertuzzi. Those are good signings. To
me, I guess what confuses me. Obviously, you want some vets on his wing, which is what they did here. Yes. I almost thought they would get kind of do it, not quite what Seattle did, because Seattle's in a better place, but get another center that can help take those shifts against, the McDavids and the Michaels, and instead of letting Connor get beat to shit every night.
It's the very famous first game of the season he played against Sidney Crosby, and the ref
people are hyping it up oh my god,
the ref is like, welcome to the league, Connor, and then fucking Sid just dismantles him for 60 minutes.
Yep.
But they also obviously have some good young talent. Like they got Boyce in this year's draft. They've got Oliver Moore. They've got Roman Kanserov.
And let's not forget they drafted
Lefshinov, who's very good.
Yep.
I think he's in college, right? He's gonna have another year in college, or gonna be in college. But a lot of good guys they have in the pipeline. They're not gonna push those guys too hard. I think they're willing. Davidson's willing to just kind of coast.
Frank Nazar
is very good.
But let's be real here though. We ain't talking about the future. We're talking about next year. Next year, they're going to be
8th
ass.
place. Yep, I agree.
8th place. No argument here, buddy.
Yep, I agree with you. So 7th place last year was formerly the Arizona Coyotes, now the Utah Hockey Club. And this year, 7th.
Just to throw out the record real quick, they were 36, 41, and 5, which was good for 77 points.
This team was good until the relocation shit happened.
Yes.
This team was on a terror until that happened, and they just fell off.
Oh, well, you'll see where Utah is for me.
Me too.
Quite a bit later in the episode.
Exactly. So 7 is Arizona.
This year, 7 is going to be 3, 2, 1,
St. Louis.
Hey! I'm glad we picked the same one because I was really struggling with them in Minnesota.
Oh, same. So St. Louis, I can tell you my notes.
I don't hate this team.
I don't hate it. It's not a terrible team, really.
But I'm not exactly wowed either.
So I wrote down Kyrie plus Thomas, great. Rest of the team, not good.
As I say, I will say, I'll give Thomas his flowers. He's super underrated.
Very underrated.
I remember when he got that 8x8, I kind of balked. I'm like, really? But then
had a great season.
I looked at his stats. I was like,
him and Kyrie both had quietly really good seasons last year.
And he was over a point per game. So clear.
We both had him on our Team Canada.
Center. Yeah.
On our Team Canada ranking. So
Jake Neighbors, I think
good young player.
He had, I believe, 20. He had 20-something goals last year, or maybe even 30. He had a lot of goals, but he had very few assists.
Yeah, he was just purely scoring.
But obviously, he's only 22. So
and coming into a team that finished,
his game will grow.
Yeah, a team that finished middle of the pack that wasn't very good.
Yeah. And then second line center is where it kind of falls apart for me. Braden Shen, not impressed. I do like Pavel Buchnevich.
I really wanted him before they signed him to the extension.
Yeah. Brandon Saad.
Past his prime, yeah.
Wouldn't have him on my second
Yeah, the rest
line.
of this team is just kind of not good. Oscar Sundqvist. I like Matthew Joseph, but he's not.
Well, my main note for this team is I like their moves and I like what they're trying to do. I think it's the smart thing to do, and the fact that they added a lot of youth.
Dylan Holloway will play up higher in this lineup for sure.
Yeah, because they added the Joseph brothers, and then obviously
I love Pierre Olivier Joseph. I really like him.
Just to do what the Americans say, P.O.
Joseph. I love him. I can't believe Pittsburgh fucking let him go. Unbelievable.
But they also obviously added Broberg and Holloway. I think those are two good pickups.
Those are huge pickups, yep.
So they added a lot of youth. I think they're just hoping one or two of these guys hits and moves the needle. To me, the big thing is even with adding Broberg, that defense is not good.
Yeah.
Because Krug is out for the season.
Krug was terrible last year, though, too. But you could also say that he's probably nursing that injury. Yeah,
exactly. That's what I'm chalking it up to.
He's just playing it out. And he's like, I can play on this, but once season's over, I'm fucking done.
Yeah, but these names: Nick Leddy, Colton Parayko,
let's go
Justin
through it.
Falk.
So the lineup on the forwards is Jake Neighbors, Robert Thomas, Jordan Kyrou. Good lineup. Good first line. Young first line. And then you've got Brandon Saad, Braden Shen, Pavel Buchnevich. Decent second line, and then Alexander Texier,
another young guy that picked up.
The young guy, he's only 25.
Not young, but
young enough.
Not past his prime.
Oscar Sundqvist and Matthew Joseph, decent, and then Dylan Holloway, Radek Faksa, and Alexei Torpachenko.
Apparently, Vegas has had a huge hard on for Radek Faksa, for years now.
Just never got him.
Apparently, every year we like made pitches to Dallas, and they just never wanted to let him go.
And then he went and signed to St. Louis.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe we'll get him traded here. He's only on a 1-year deal.
Never know.
He got traded to St. Louis. So maybe we get him.
All right.
He's a good fourth line bottom six guy.
Exactly.
I like Greg Fox.
We all know Vegas loves those gritty
and then
bottom
defense
sixers.
is Nick Leddy and Colton Parayko.
Yeah,
not great. Colton Parayko was not good last year. Neither was Nick Leddy. Philip Broberg and Justin Falk. Broberg's the better defenseman on that group.
But Justin Falk does have a pretty epic mustache.
He does.
But he's overpaid by about $2 million. I would say.
$6.5 million. Jesus, this is an expensive defense.
I know.
Nick Leddy $4 million. Colton Parayko $6.5 million. Broberg 4.6. Let's call it. Justin Falk at 6.5 million. That's an expensive defense. And then Scott Perunovich, who's just one of their guys that's past being a prospect. He was drafted 45th, but he was like kind of like the highest defenseman in the pipeline. He just never lived up to it.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going anywhere. And then somebody named Matthew Kessel, I have no idea who that is. Looks like they drafted him in 2020, so I would assume.
I'm assuming he's only there because
Ryan Suter's 40 years old.
Yeah, I was saying, let's not forget they added Ryan Suter, who's still making money off 2 separate buyouts. Mm-hmm. So good for him.
The goaltending is
and I don't want to talk shit. He's almost 40. That in itself is impressive. Yeah. But
and the goaltending is Bennington and Joel Hofer. Bennington's been up and down, more towards the down.
I will say I kind of didn't realize it until I was doing my homework, but Bennington was fucking great last year, man. And I feel like there were times where
he's alternating.
That's the thing. Do I think he can keep it up? No. But he was pretty fucking good.
He's surprisingly older, like 31. I didn't know he was 31. And then you forget that.
Well, because he was a rookie during their cup run, but he was like
an old rookie.
He was like an old rookie where people were like, oh yeah, he's the AHL starter, you know.
Yeah.
And then he just appeared and he's like, hey, I'm here, and like, oh shit, all right,
yeah.
welcome.
I didn't realize he was 31 years old. He's older than Aiden Hill.
I know, that's crazy.
It's crazy, right?
But like I said, I will give him credit. He stopped at the nonsense and he zeroed in last year. It was pretty good.
I think his season last year was a bigger reason why they were 5th.
Well, I was about to say, and as far as talking about overall where they're placing, another big reason to have them at 7th is 12 of their wins last year were in overtime.
Oof.
I don't think that's sustainable.
No, that's not.
And especially with even if we're not picking on Bennington and saying he's going to crash, just natural variance. I don't think most goalies are going to have 2 years like that in a row.
Unless you're the New York Islanders.
Yeah, well, fucking yeah. Bennington is certainly not Sorokin.
Yeah.
But anyways, I don't think I
don't
think he's going to have another year like that. Even if he has a good strong year, I don't know if it's going to be enough.
Yeah, especially with like we said, I think the best player in this defense is Philip Broberg.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of scary to say, and I think he'll be fine. But and their scratches are Kasperi Kapanen, Nathan Walker,
what happened to him?
Ryan Suter. Kapanen, I don't know. I mean,
I remember it, like when he was in Toronto, like the hype was real, and then he was bad, and then he went to Toronto or he went to Pittsburgh. And we're like, oh yeah, maybe he'll be also bad, and now he's projected to be a scratch by hockeynews.com on a not very good team.
Yep. And then, I think P.O. Joseph is going to play over probably Matthew Kessel. I think he's the much better defenseman.
Yeah.
Right now they have him in the minors or because he's only 25, but I think he'll play over Matthew Kessel for sure. Mm-hmm. He's a much better player.
Oh, hey, and let's not forget they have Zach Dean.
Zach Dean, former Golden Knights prospect, was traded in the Barbashev trade, which I will take that 100% of the time.
Same.
Their other big prospect is two big prospects is Dalibor Dvorsky and then Adam Juracek are their two big guys. You might see one or two of them this year. I would assume at least Dvorsky probably.
Yeah, I would say I think Juracek, they'll probably protect him a little longer.
They also have Jimmy Snuggerud.
Oh, yeah.
He's pretty good. We might see him this year.
He's only 20, so yeah.
He's only 20. I think he's playing with Michigan. So maybe once that season's over, you'll see him. But again, we have them at 7th. I don't think this team is awful. I just think this is the worst. They were one of the worst teams in the Central, is my opinion.
Yeah, I really struggled with this one because they obviously, like I said, they were competing deep into the playoffs last year.
Yeah, they were 5th place.
They're kind of breathing down our neck.
They were. They were in 5th. They're close.
But I do think they're going to regress because, like I said, 12 of those wins were in overtime.
It's just not sustainable.
I don't know if Bennington's going to be able to repeat his performance.
No, I agree. I agree.
They did get rid of Kevin Hayes, which is kind of addition by subtraction. And they also let go of Texier, who's...
You listen to this podcast long enough, you're going to hear how much Jacob hates Kevin Hayes.
I don't hate him.
I just don't like him.
I just don't think...
He's
just one of those players where, like, when someone that wants to be a contender picks him up, I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, well, that's the point of having Kevin Hayes. Kind of like what happened with Philly. You're like, what? Okay.
Exactly. But any final thoughts on St. Louis?
No, I think we went through it. I mean... I could see them moving up, but I don't know
I said,
how.
Same.
They'd have to catch fire on some of these guys, like Alexander Texier. I frankly think the third line should be Texier should be the center, and then you should put Dylan Holloway. Not third line. I'm sorry, second line. Holloway, Texier, and Buchnevich. I think that'd be a great second line. But that second line I think should be Holloway, Texier, and Buchnevich. I think that's a good second line.
I think so.
I mean, this is obviously what the projected lineup is based on probably where they played last year.
Exactly. That line, people, it kills me when people get so picky about lines. I'm like, the line is whatever the coach decides the fucking night before.
Yeah,
like,
I do think
none of this shit is set in stone.
Yeah, I think Texier and Holloway both play up, and you know what the good thing with St. Louis too is their PK got a lot better. With Holloway, who can kill penalties really well. Braddock Fox that can kill penalties really well. P.O. Joseph can kill penalties on defense. You got a good penalty killers, but like scoring outside of Thomas and Kyrou, where are you going to get it from? Maybe Buchnevich, but
yeah,
even then, outside of Buchnevich, it's kind of hard. Yeah, I think they'll be 7th. I mean, yeah.
Well, and I will say though, like I said, I don't hate this team. And to me, this is like the big difference between the West and the East, where like the Metro, like I said, I
hated a lot of the teams in the Metro.
The Metro, I felt like I was trying to rearrange the cow pies.
It was like trying to pick your least favorite uncle.
It's trying to rank the stepchildren you hate.
Exactly.
But,
whereas it's like all these teams are like decently good. It's like where do you put them at? Yeah.
But yeah. So don't hate them. But that said, I'm comfortable putting them at 7th.
All right. So
I'm wondering where else we'll line up here.
Yeah, exactly. So 6th place last year was Minnesota.
Yeah, they went 39, 34, and 9. It was
another team that
87
was
points,
close to making the playoffs.
They were until like the last 2 weeks or so.
Yeah, they had those couple games.
This is a ballsy team. I like.
Well,
them.
It was that one game where they pulled the goalie and they scored, and then the game against us, they tried to do the same thing. Basically, they win that game and they're alive. They lose it, they're out. And they did the same thing. And we scored and we eliminated Minnesota.
You play the Knights.
Exactly.
Shit happens.
Yeah. But this year in 6th place,
3, 2, 1,
Minnesota.
All right. So we're pretty
same so far.
Here.
So Minnesota. I mean, I like a lot of the players. I like Kaprizov. I like Eric Sinek. I like Matthew Boldy. I like Brock Faber is fucking electric.
Yes.
Yep.
Jared Spurgeon's coming back.
I like a lot of their young high end talent. I like Marco Rossi.
Yep.
I like a lot of their players. I just don't know where this team is going.
Well, that's the thing. They're purposely not going anywhere because they can't go anywhere until next year.
Yeah, it's just the middle of the road.
They're handicapped.
Yeah. It's just they're right there. Like they could be good. They could be going back to the teams of when they were fucking us, and then we're beating the shit out of each other night in and night out. They're right there, and I think they've got the talent to be there. And I think, like you said, they have one more year of the buyout fucking hell, and then they can go get some guys. I think they need to get it on defense for sure, because outside of Faber and Jonas Brodin, this defense is very questionable.
Yeah, I think I like Jared Spurgeon. He's not as old as I thought he was, but he is getting older.
Yeah, he's showing his age. He's showing his speed, and he's overpaid $7.5 million.
Yeah, and Zach Bogosian, not it.
Declan Chisholm's kind of a plug. He was all right.
I swear they. Oh yeah, I was gonna say. I would think John Merrill would still take that spot, wouldn't you?
I think is he still on this team?
Mm-hmm. He's on the scratch.
Oh, there he is. Yeah, John Merrill's a serviceable bottom pairing defenseman.
Yeah,
I 100%.
Well,
think so.
in this D-core, it's kind of the microcosm for this team. It's hardworking. It's not bad, but it doesn't quite have that spark. I guess Brock Faber is that spark.
Brock Faber's incredible.
Yes. I will say so. we don't have to get into whether you
Quick
think
hot take. Do you think Brock Faber should have won the Calder last
Yes,
year? 100%. I do too.
he was keeping this team alive for a playoff chase while
he was amazing.
Connor Bedard was just playing on a fucking AHL team, getting fed the puck by everyone.
He was playing important,
just shooting at
Brock
will.
Faber was playing. He played the most minutes of the defense.
Yeah,
he played he was amazing.
He was playing like 28 minutes a night against like top guys on good teams. Like,
not only was he good offensively, he's also very good defensively.
Yes,
like
he 100% should have won.
Should have won the Calder. Brock Faber's amazing.
Yeah,
he 100%. I know he got his new contract, and everybody's like, "Oh, that much money for 1 year?" I'm like, "Yeah, because he's fucking great. He's incredible."
Yeah, I feel like my instinct when I see a cap hit that big for a guy that young, I'm like, but I was like, honestly,
frankly, he might be underpaid.
Well, I was going to say, because like, frankly, what he should have done was taken a bridge deal
and they got hella paid. Yeah.
Really bent them over when the cap situation cleared up.
Mm-hmm.
But
he's amazing.
I will say real quick. So I don't want to get into whether you think Spurgeon is good or not. But I will say is that he will help break up those minutes.
Yes,
and I think Faber will. I don't think he'll play as many minutes, not because he's not as good, but just to keep him fresh.
Yeah, you don't want to. You don't want to
like,
run down your kid that early. I mean,
exactly.
But the good part is he's only 22, so he's got a fucking. Oh yeah, he's an Energizer bunny back
probably
there.
Wakes up the next day feeling fine.
Yeah, exactly. He's still young. He's still ready to go.
Meanwhile, I will like not exercise for weeks, and then I'll wake up one morning. I'm like, God, I'm so sore.
Exactly. We'll go through this team. So on the first line, you've got Kirill Kaprizov.
Yes.
Yola Eriksson.
Fucking love Kirill.
Yeah, love him.
Kirill the Thrill.
Love him. Yola Eriksson, one of the more underrated players in the league.
Agreed.
Despite how good he is, both ends of the ice. Matthew Boldy, very, very good.
And I don't know if I'll say he's underrated because I think people started finally giving him respect last year, but Matthew Boldy's the real fucking deal, man.
He's good.
I still remember when he was drafted.
And he's big too, 6'2".
Yeah, he can score. He's big.
Yeah.
He's basically what you want in your top six.
He's very good.
He's the real deal.
And he got a good contract, too. He got signed to his RFA, $7 million. I think that's really good for that young of a guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then your next line, I don't like it that much outside of Marco Rossi. Marcus Johansson, Marco Rossi, and Matt Zuccarello. Zuccarello's good, but he's 37.
Zook is definitely getting old.
He's getting up there. Johansson,
he's a useful player, but, ideally in the top six, maybe not.
I mean, I love Rossi. Rossi's really good.
That's one of the things I wrote down is this year that Rossi has like a real big year.
Because he came in and was like pretty decent when he first came in, and then he had the COVID year happened, and he was out of the league for like 2 years because of COVID injury because he had like holes in his lungs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he came back this year, had a pretty decent year. But Zuccarello, I like Zuccarello as a player. I think he's one of like my favorite.
37 for a forward is
old. Yeah, it's up there, and he's small too. 5'8", 178. So like we'll see. I don't know. And then you've got.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know who this third line center is.
He is a high. Like he was drafted 37, so he started barely started with the team last year. He was played in kind of like towards the end of the year. Played in some important games, actually.
Should we try to pronounce his name?
Well, hold on. We'll go Marcus Foligno, Ryan Hartman, and then Marat Kuznetsov?
That looks right. That sounds right for how it looks.
Kuznetsov?
So
Close enough.
Like I said, don't know who that is.
He's still young, 22.
I do like Marcus Foligno. I think he's one of the better defensive forwards in the league. I think people just kind of think of him as like an ape that fights. But,
like a bruiser.
Yeah.
But
when he got signed to this deal,
6'3", 225.
When he got signed to this deal, people were like $4 million. I'm like, I think that's fair.
Yeah, it's fair for what he brings.
He doesn't score a lot, but he's big, he's physical, and like I said, he plays defensively.
Yeah, and he's
a
leader also in the locker room and for the forwards. He's a leader for those young guys too. And then the fourth line is Yakov Trenin, Frederick Gaudreau, and Jakub Lako.
It does not inspire joy.
No, I would much rather take that third line 100% of the time over the fourth line. That's kind of like, for me, it's like where that depth kind of falls apart. I mean, like we said, Marcus Johansson on your second line, Matt Zuccarello at 37 on your second line. That kind of gets difficult. You would like probably better players up there, but like you said, they're kind of cap-strapped with those buyouts. And then on defense, I really like this first pair.
Yeah,
like Jake Middleton and Brock Faber.
Jake Middleton has a great mustache as well.
Great mustache, good defensive defenseman. Brock Faber, like we said, amazing, incredible player. Legit guy. And then you've got Eunice Brodin, who we both really like. We had him on Team Sweden for the defense. And then Jared Spurgeon, who is getting older, but he's much like...
He's still has the talent.
Much like Pietrangelo getting older, but he still had the defensive talent.
Yes, and has...
Yes.
that veteran presence,
Yeah, and then Declan Chisholm and Zach Bogosian. Yeah. And your scratches are Reese Johnson, who I don't know where he played before. That name does sound familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Travis Boyd, I think, played with Arizona. And then John Merrill, who Vegas Sign alum. Still very good. Bottom pairing guy.
I love John Merrill.
He's a man of the people.
Exactly. I'd probably plug him in over
Oh,
Chisholm
or Bogosian.
Yeah.
And then the goalies were atrocious last year. I think that's kind of the deal.
To me,
this
is where it really hinges is Gustafson.
He's got to play.
Gus Bus. He has to step it back up.
You can't depend on Flower. I love Marc-Andre Fleury. I love him dearly.
You know me. I love Fleury. I'm a Fleury stan. I'm a Fleury truther. I'm a Fleury defender.
I got his little Toronto murder save right here.
I still remember watching that save in an airport in Colorado Springs on my phone while I was on a shitty work trip.
Yep. I love him.
I love him.
He's going to be 40 years old
I'll
this
say
year.
Marc-Andre Fleury is turning 48 years old this year.
He's going to be...
He's turning 67 years old
He's
this
going to
year.
be 40. Philip Gustafson needs to step the fuck up.
Yes.
And play like he did 2 years ago.
Yes.
There's no excuse for it. You've got a decent defense in front of you. You've got the best defenseman, the best 20 young defensemen in the league in front of you. You got Jake Milton. You got Brodin. You got Spurgeon. You've got a half decent team in front of you. You need to step the fuck up this year or get off the pot.
Yeah, because they have Jesper Wallstedt is more than willing to come up, I'm sure.
He is only 22 years old. You don't want him to play important games, but he's more than willing to step in. I mean, he's going to play games because Fleury's not going to be healthy all year. It's just he's 40. He's not going to be healthy all year.
Yeah, and that's the thing is...
and also, Gustafson's getting paid $4 million, 3.75.
Well, yeah, because, when a goalie at that age has a great year, you give him a contract like that, and you don't think he's going to shit the bed the next year.
Yeah.
Like I said, love Fleury, good veteran backup at this point in his career.
He cannot play that. He cannot play more than what
he was the starter because Gustafson was
so bad. They flip flop so many times. They flip flop a bunch because Fleury would have a decent couple games and then gas out. Guess what, guys? He was fucking 39.
Yeah. Can I say while we're on Fleury, I fucking hate more than anything people that. Now that he's, 40 and like people are like, oh yeah, well he finished with an 899. Doesn't sound very good.
He's
to
40.
Me. He's fucking 40.
Like
and the fact that he took the net from someone at this stage in his career,
40 years old,
on a team that was pushing for the playoffs, that alone says something. How many fucking goalies do you know that are playing until 40?
Here's the stats last year. Philip Gustafson, 45 games played, went 20-18. With a 899 and 3.06.
Not good enough.
With a -5 goals against above expected.
Mm-hmm. Not good enough.
Flower had 40 games played. Not good because that means he came in.
I was going to say right away, if you have a veteran backup, you don't want him playing 40
games. 36.
Also, just looking, that doesn't add up to 82. So clearly Gus got pulled a couple times.
Yeah. And so he went 17-15. And then had an 895, not far off from an 899.
Nope.
A 2.98, that's better than the 3.06. Mm-hmm. He did have negative 8.9 goal saves above expected, but had a better goals against overall.
Mm-hmm. And
he was 39 years old. I want to put that back into perspective.
Yeah.
Philip Gustafson was 25 last year. Flower was 39. Are you shitting me right now?
Yeah. Like I said, the fact that he played 40 games and Gus played 45, which to me implies that Gus got pulled a few times.
Yes, because if you look at this, Gustafson started 43 games. Fleury started 36. That means Gus got pulled in 2 more games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and it happens, but the point being,
is that Gustafson is 14 years younger than Fleury and barely had.
I just feel like
terrible.
The point being, there's these salty motherfuckers that have always hated him because of how popular he is. And like, actually, he's not that good because one of those 3 Stanley Cups, he was the backup.
This just turned into a 5-minute Marc-Andre Fleury fucking praise minute.
We're in fucking Las Vegas, man. Okay.
So his career, Marc-Andre Fleury's career, he has played over 1,000 games. He has 864 games started. He has 561 games lost. Oh wait, no.
That's one.
Sorry. 561 games won. Amazing. 330 games lost. He has a career over his entire
Over 1,000 games.
Over 1,000 games. He has a 9.12.
That's good.
That's amazing.
And that's the
A
thing.
people see the 2.60 goals against.
People see the 912 and they're like, well, that's not very high. I'm like, yeah, in a fucking year, try in 20.
20.
Like,
And you want to hear his goal saves above expected for his entire career? 67.2.
give me a fucking break.
Fuck off.
Give me a
he's a
fucking
Hall
break.
of Fame player. Like,
Hall of Famer.
First ballot. Without question.
It's funny because it's all, you know what it is, Alex? It's all these little fuckers on Reddit.
Yep.
And like Twitter and
Yep.
Instagram. And you always see the same comments when Fleury comes in. Well, my hot take is that he shouldn't be a Hall of Famer. I'm like, that's not the hot take.
It's just fucking you being an idiot.
Because everyone says that, and you're all fucking wrong.
You're
The
all
real
fucking
hot
stupid.
take is that longevity alone would be enough to get him in there. But he not just longevity. He actually performed during his career.
You want to hear his playoff stats, Jacob?
Yeah. Oh, well, he's infamously bad in the playoffs. Let's see how bad he is.
He's started 160 games in the playoffs, won 92 games, lost 74. Winning record to me.
Yeah.
He had a 9.11.
What?
A 9.
The way people tell it, I thought he would have had a fucking 675.
9.11, a 2.56. He's a good goaltender. He's a great goaltender.
I just get pissed. Give Flower his fucking flowers. The man's fucking 83 years old.
Let's listen to the similarity scores for other goaltender here on Hockey Reference. Let's look at these names. Ed Belfour, Hall of Famer. John Van Briesbroek, I think, is in the Hall of Fame. Oh, look, Patrick Waugh.
Wow. Oh, Martin Brodeur. Have you ever heard of him?
Oh, look at that.
Gump Worsley. Have you ever heard of him?
Cujo's there too. Curtis Joseph.
My God. Oh,
Ryan Miller.
Like the guy that we all fawn over as being the best American goalie.
Nikolai Kababulian. Oh, my God.
And here's a familiar name.
Sean Burke. Huh.
Yeah. So clearly he's in bad company. He's clearly overrated. Yeah. And he deserves. Alex, I don't know if you knew this, but that Vezina was a Lifetime Achievement Award. He didn't deserve it.
That being actually the best goaltender that year.
Yeah.
And that William Jennings award really wasn't deserved, even though him and Leonard had the best goals against the entire year.
One of my favorite memories of Fleury is how they brought in Robin Leonard obviously to replace him.
Yeah.
And then they couldn't. And then they were like, well, I guess we're forced to play with both of them. And then Fleury got a shutout against Colorado within the first 5 games of the season.
Yep.
And then he took over the net, and then he got us to the conference final. That's a bad goalie.
Yeah.
That's bad.
And that wasn't even that many years ago.
Honestly, I know it was the injuries, but part of me is Marc-Andre Fleury ended Robin Leonard's career because he just destroyed his brain.
Yeah. I mean, that brain was already destroyed.
By being better.
That brain was already fucking jello.
Yeah.
But
anyways...
Yeah.
We'll bring it back to Minnesota here. Fleury, this will be his
age 40 season.
He's age 40. This will be his retirement
year,
here.
Right? Yep.
Shit, man. We should see when that game is. Maybe we can go.
In Minnesota v. I would love to go.
Mm-hmm. Coach is going to start him. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's obviously going to be a fucking video package and everything for him. So.
But obviously, as much flowers as we're giving Flower,
Philip Gustafson was fucking dog shit.
Yeah, and he needs to step up.
I'm sorry if it seems fucking cruel or even uneven sided, but Philip Gustafson is 26.
He can. You know what I always think about if we should talk players, they can dry their tears with their millions of dollars.
Exactly.
Because I sure should don't get that.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, do you have anything else to talk about Minnesota? I don't. I mean, I think
not really. Like I said, I think 6 is a fair spot for them. I think they will get very good very quick once those cap hits come off.
Yes, I agree.
I think
they once that cap comes off, they could probably get rid of Zuccarello in a trade. Get Marcus Johansson's on a 1-year deal. They could sign guys.
I was gonna say, God, what's their GM's name? I can see his face perfectly in my head.
Billy Guerin.
Yes, thank you. Billy's one of the boys.
He's a good GM.
I think guys would love to play there.
Oh yeah, he's actually was also a very good hockey player.
Yes, and state of hockey, man.
Yeah.
I guess
you love to play in Minnesota. Yeah,
I say it gets cold there, but your
that
fans
arena is sold out, and they're selling out every
night. Your fans are gonna be rabid, especially when they're getting better. So.
Getting better, and the team is young and good. Yeah, I would love to play there if I was somebody.
Agreed.
So 5th place last year was St. Louis.
Yeah, they went 43, 33, and 6. That was good for 92
Pretty good
points.
season.
Like I said, they were breathing down our necks.
Pretty good season.
They were breathing down our necks in that playoff chase for the wild card. It came down to the last 4 or 5 games.
Legit, yeah, literally the last week of the season.
Yeah,
we were fucking fighting tooth and nail.
Oh lordy, yep. But anyways, so this year in 5th place, it's going to be 3, 2, 1.
Colorado.
Winnipeg. Okay.
So this is where we differ.
I don't want to spoil it.
I feel like we don't differ that much.
I don't want to spoil it, but they're not far away on my list.
Yeah, same. So Colorado.
I know I texted you earlier today where I was like, I really don't know what to do with these two teams.
Yeah.
Because they're both dropping for me.
Yeah, they're both kind of in limbo. So I'll go off on about Colorado. If Landy does play, this team moves up for me for sure. I would put this team at 3 or 2.
Well, here's the question though. There's the big question: does he play or not? The other question: what's he going to look like when he does
exactly?
play?
Does he going to?
Is he going to be his old
does
self?
Does he have the cardio?
How long does it take to get back up there? Is there lingering issues?
Exactly. Is he going to be? He's not going to come back in and immediately be Gabriel Landeskog winning the cup. Gabriel Landeskog. That Gabriel Landeskog was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take some time. Look what happened with Devin Taves. Not Devin Taves, I'm sorry.
Jonathan
Taves. I don't know why I said Devin. Well, obviously we're talking about Colorado.
Well, they had the same last name as well. So.
Jonathan Taves. He tried coming back. Again, he was older than Landeskog was.
Well, and didn't he have COVID issues?
He had COVID issues. But Landeskog had fucking knee surgery and a bunch of lower body surgeries. Does he come back? Maybe. Like you said, does he come back to where he was? I don't know. That's the big question. And that's kind of my big question for them. We'll go through the lines, but after the top line, that's not a lot.
No, I agree.
It's not amazing, and then the bottom pairing is not very good.
No.
Alexander Georgiev has played a lot of games, and he's not been
and they
good.
did not bring in a good backup.
No. So let's go through the lineup. So right now they have Jonathan Drouin, Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, amazing.
That's fucking 200 points between 200 plus points between two guys there.
And then you're gonna have to pay Rantanen in a year, so we'll see about that one. But two amazing players, and then Arturi Lehkonen, Casey Middleset, and Logan O'Connor. I don't think Lehkonen. I don't know. They might keep Drouin up there so they have the scoring of Lehkonen on the second line, because you're not going to get much from Casey Middleset and Logan O'Connor.
Exactly.
And
and I kept thinking, I'm like, is Logan O'Connor a young guy? No, he's
28.
So
he's not young. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not old, but he's not young.
And then the third line, who I think would be a good fourth line anywhere else, is Miles Wood, Ross Colton, and Nikolai Kovalenko. Nikolai Kovalenko has never played an NHL game. I think we saw him briefly with the Eagles. They played Henderson towards the end of the year. He's kind of like their only prospect, even though he was drafted 171 6 years ago, and he's also 25 and was in Russia for a long time. I don't know if you want to put all your eggs in that basket. And then the third...
they have not historically had a lot of success in putting their eggs in the Russian basket.
No, not at all.
Which is why this forward core looks suddenly much more shallow.
Yeah, and then you've got you've got a brand new fourth line. Parker Kelly came from the Senators. Matthew Phillips, I think, came from Washington. And then Yoel Kiviranta was in Dallas's AHL team last year. So again, really questionable.
His
bottom six
shallow is the best way I can say it. I think Casey Middlestat, a good addition.
Not a second line center.
Yeah, and they've been searching for a second line center since Kadri left.
Yeah, and then you kind of look at this team year over year since winning the cup, they've fallen down the rank. So they win the cup, and the year after that they got eliminated by the Kraken, and then this year they finished third. They've been steadily falling down that pipe in.
It's a scary thought for former Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah, but we'll get to the Pacific. I think that our team's built better than this team is.
Agreed.
I just don't like the depth at all on these forwards. And yeah, you can have Landy in, but like you said, he might start as a third line center or on the wing and just shelter his minutes until he feels better. And that's, again, is he ever going to feel the way he felt?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Landy, and then do they take Nichushkin back when his suspension's over?
He's up in November?
I think so. And part of me is like, you can't get fucked over by this guy 2 playoffs in a row and then just take him back. But at the same time, when you look at this lineup,
you need him.
Exactly.
He might be a piece of shit, but you need him.
Yeah.
You need that winger. Logan O'Connor can't play on your second line wing.
No.
You need Nichushkin on your second line.
And especially the way Colorado plays where, pun intended, they really are like an avalanche where once they start skating downhill and once they start putting on pressure, they're hard to stop. Well, you can't keep that pressure up if you don't have that guy behind McKinnon that's also
you don't
firing
have that big,
puck.
you don't have a 6'4" big guy. It's just hard to do.
And like I said, I feel like I've talked shit about Casey Middlestat in the past. I like him, but ideally that's your third line center.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and then Logan O'Connor, no.
Second line winger, that's not good.
Parker Kelly, no.
Yeah,
Phillips,
and then
no.
Your defense, obviously the best pairing, I think, in the league is Devin Taves and Cale Makar. I think that's without question. And then you've got Samuel Girard and Josh Manson, who's still a very good middle pairing.
It's a good middle pairing, but to me already, I'm like, it's
getting fishy.
Declining already. It's already declining here.
Their bottom pairing is brand new and also signed at the last minute. Oliver Gillington and Eric Brandstrom. Gillington, who got injured, missed a lot of time, was in the player assistant program. Brandstrom, who's been not good and wasn't good for the Senators.
Alex, real quick, would you make this deal, Brandstrom for Mark Stone?
1,000% of the time.
Yeah, okay, well, just curious.
Yeah, so this bottom pairings leaves a lot to
be desired.
I don't know how they do this.
I think it can go either way. Those are Shillington and Brandstrom. They do have the talent.
Yeah, they do, 100%.
But are they going to do what a bottom pairing needs to do? And be gritty.
Yeah.
To me, those are kind of offensive minded guys.
I feel like you have to put one of Girard or Manson with the two, one of them to cover up the issues.
And then to me,
this defense is also kind of undersized outside of Girard's 5'10".
5'10",
Brandstrom's 5'10",
6 foot.
Gillington's 6 foot. Like the biggest guy on this defense is Manson, is 6'3". I mean, Cale Makar is amazing. Don't get me wrong. Cale Makar is the best defenseman.
He's one of those freaks where it's like he's so good that like he could be fucking 5'1". I don't give a shit.
Yeah, he's amazing. But this is the worst defense they've had in a long time.
Yeah, and then for me, where it completely falls apart is this goalie tandem.
Georgiev was not good. Doesn't matter what you want to say. This team won on scoring.
Yep.
Purely on scoring. He had a sub-900 save percentage last year.
Well, it was really funny.
He played the most games in the league.
Do you remember in the playoffs when the team, Colorado made it clear that you know what, we're not blaming Georgiev and he's going to prove you all wrong.
He should.
And then he did prove them wrong for the rest of the first round. And then they got to the second round.
And they got
tanked. And then they proved everyone right.
Yeah.
All the haters got proven right.
Yeah.
Because he fucking sucked.
Yeah. Last year, Georgiev holy shit. He started 62 games.
That's too much.
38-18, which is a great record. He had an .897 save percentage. What was Fleury's save percentage? .895?
Yeah. So all right. So.
And then he had a 3.02 goals against. Oh, was it?
Man, Marc-Andre Fleury could be the starter for the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah. And then he had
everyone's favorite to win the West.
Listen to this number.
Well, not favorite.
Negative 11.9 goal saves above expected.
Jesus.
In his playoffs,
that's worse than Fleury's.
His playoffs, he went 6-5, had an .894, 2.85 goals above expected, or goals saved, and then negative 3.5 goals saved above expected.
Not great.
Not good. He wasn't. I mean, he was just getting scored on a lot.
He had that awful first game, turned it around, shored it up for the rest of that series against Winnipeg.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they won because of him. I think they won because, like I said, the quote unquote Avalanche started rolling and Winnipeg could not stop it.
Yep.
Like you said, they won on scoring.
Yep.
And then they got to the second round, and suddenly they couldn't do that because they were playing a team with better
good Dallas team,
playing a team with a deeper defense and better goaltending.
Yep, I totally agree. Yeah, I just don't like the goaltending, and then their backup is
Noonan,
who's young.
He's young. I will say, like a lot of people, I've never even heard of this guy. We've seen him in Henderson.
Yeah, he's a good goaltender.
I think he's young, as you said, but I think he has a shot at being good. But again, that's a risk.
Yeah, their scratches are Chris Wagner, who I think we looked him up. He's just a career AHLer.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jacob McDonald and Calvin DeHaan, both older. And I think McDonald was in with the Eagles a lot last year. I think we saw him quite a few times.
Yep.
And then Calvin DeHaan's been around the league.
I like how this is the first team we've seen on this page that has a spot for non-roster Valerie Nichushkin.
Yeah, that piece of shit.
Yep.
in case anybody forgot, had a Ukrainian sex slave in his hotel room.
Well, Alex, we don't like to use words like that. She was a woman that may or may not have been in distress, may or may not have been performing services, may or may not have been a nationality,
may or may not have been drugged out of her mind.
Yeah.
Okay. And they really don't have any prospects, obviously, as a team that's been this good for a while. I think Callum Ritchie's like their number one guy. For that's really not much.
Well, they do have one of my favorite names to say, which is Jean-Luc Foudy.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too exciting. I think this goes along with the hot take you had.
I thought that was your hot take.
My hot take was Edmonton. Your hot take was Colorado.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't know. The depth on this team is the worst it's been in a long time.
I will say, because again, I don't want to spoil it, but they're pretty close here on my ranking.
So let's talk about Winnipeg. Unless you want to talk about Colorado for.
I just wanted to give one final note on Colorado, just to provide a counterpoint, I guess. I think this core, like their core four, is probably the best in the league. And I know Edmonton has McDavid and Draisaitl, but I would say the best in the sense of how balanced it is, in that they have one elite center, an elite winger, and two elite defensemen.
Yes, I would agree.
I think that goes a long way and is why they have been keeping pace with all these losses.
Yes.
But I agree. I think this is probably the year where it starts to catch up.
Yep.
The lack of goaltending, the lack of depth.
I agree too.
So that's all. Final note.
Then we can talk about Winnipeg. You have them in the same spot. You have them fifth.
Yeah. I was very torn on these two teams.
Yes,
and who's going 4, who's going 5.
Me too.
I definitely had them both dropping. And I felt a little foolish in the sense that I was like, I have bet against Winnipeg the last 2 or 3 years, and I have been getting proved wrong.
Yes.
Regular season anyway.
Yep.
And I do actually really like this team. And it sounds like a contradiction, but I feel like they get a little underrated at times. I have them at 5, but I think it's going to be like a hard-fought, bitter 5.
Yeah, I can see that. Like a really
like it's going to come down to like the last week of the season type of 5.
Yeah, totally.
What do you want to talk them up for why you have them at 4? And then I'll talk them down, or the opposite.
Yeah, I'll spoiler alert. Jacob just let it go. I have them at 4.
Sorry. Yeah, I thought we.
But I just really like Kyle Connor a lot. I like they're relatively deep, but their center core is not that deep. Like their wingers are better than their center core.
I'll say my big thing as to why they're at 5 is Vladimir Nemestikov should not be a second line center.
That was my note as a question was good scoring, but is Nemestikov really a second line center?
Yeah, and then another big one for me to have him at 5 is everyone loves Nikolai Ehlers. I like Nikolai Ehlers. 1, he probably shouldn't be on a second line. He's probably most effective on a third line.
Mm-hmm.
2, he openly wants
to leave.
And I think he's probably going to get traded within the season.
Yep.
I do like Nino Niederreiter, Adam Lowry, great third line center and a leader. Mason Appleton, great winger, but I don't know. It's just I feel like they're missing something.
Yeah, and then plus they have to sign Cole Perfetti too. He's still unsigned. I really like their first line. I like it. So we'll go through the lineup. Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, Gabriel Velarde. Very good first line. Velarde's been really, really good since he got traded there from LA. And then you've got Perfetti unsigned. And then Vlad Nemesnikov, Nikolai Ehlers. And then, Niederreiter, Adam Lowry, Mason Appleton, Morgan Barrett, David Gustafson, and Alex Iafallo. I think Alex Iafallo should be on the fourth line, but that's just me.
That's the thing with these preseason projections. They're always a little bit wrong.
Yeah, and then defense, you've got Josh Morrissey, Dylan DeMello,
good,
Dylan Sandberg, Neil Pionk,
okay,
Ville Heinola, and Colin Miller. And Heinola is their younger guy, and then Miller's been around, obviously, VGK alum. And then goalies, Colin Hellebuck, great in the regular season, terrible in the playoffs. And then Kaapo Kokkonen, he's a young, good backup, I would say. And then their scratches are Rasmus Kupari. I think this one plays more than you think he does. Jarrett Anderson-Dolan's a good bottom sixer. And then Logan Stanley's kind of a pylon.
Big.
He's big.
Everyone loves a big boy.
But he's not very good at defense. They do have a couple guys that we've talked about, like Brad Lambert and Nikita Zhibrikov.
And let's not forget, now Braden Yeager.
So they got some youth that they could plug in. I think Lambert plays some games.
Yeah,
I think Zhibrikov also plays some games. They're two kind of big guys. I would assume they play. And then they've also got Chaz Lucius and Colby Barlow, who I really, really like.
One thing I will give them credit for is they do have good defensive depth. Cause look at those guys in the minors: Hayden Fleury, Dylan Coughlin.
Yep.
I think if they have injuries, which everyone does eventually,
yep.
At the very least, they'll be plugging guys that can be NHL players into the lineup.
Yeah, I think they can plug in some youth in where, like, you know, you have issues with like Nemestikov, you can try somebody out. Someone gets injured, you can plug some guys in. I mean, again, I don't have them far away from where you have them. I think we have these teams flip-flopped.
I spoiled it. I'm sorry. But yes, we do.
I mean, I guess maybe give your defense slight. I mean, you said them 5. My defense at 4 is I like there's scoring on this team that's very good. Kyle Connor, Gabe Velarde, Cole Perfetti.
Well, and to me, the most obvious defense that I really thought about is this is a fucking 110-point team last year.
Yeah,
and they didn't lose
in
much,
the regular season. Hellebuck's obviously way better than Georgiev.
Yeah, I said Hellebuck alone is going to win them a lot of games.
Yeah. Hellebuck by himself in the regular season is incredible. He's won the Vezina. He won the Vezina last year, right, or a couple of years ago?
I think it was last year.
Last year, yeah. He's a Vezina winner. He's a great goaltender.
Was that a second one?
I think so. Yeah.
And then also Kyle Connor is so fucking good.
So good.
I feel like people don't. Somehow he just gets forgotten about. And then Mark Scheifele also, like,
very good center.
I would say beyond good. He's fucking elite. I feel like people forget how good he is, like, just because of his like weird off-putting personality.
Yeah,
but he's fucking
intense.
He is fucking elite.
Yeah, I agree.
And then Gabe Velarde, like you said, good addition.
He's incredible.
Cole Perfetti, I think, is ready to take the next step.
Yeah.
Like I said, for me, what it really came down to
what do you do with Nemestikov and Ehlers?
Yeah, it was the center core.
I frankly think you should like pair Perfetti with like somebody like you should make a young line with like Lambert and Shibukov and let them roll because Lambert's a center, Shibukov's a right winger. You could play them as like a third line, or, you know, maybe limit their minutes, but like see how they play together.
Yeah,
because I just don't think Nemesnikov's it as a he's good. Don't get me wrong, Nemesnikov's a good hockey player, but I don't think he's a second line center.
Well, and I was going to say another thing I'll give them credit for is that third line, Niederreiter, Lowry, and Appleton.
That's a good line. I really like that line.
You know how a lot of people like to say, oh, the best fourth line in the league. This is obviously the best fucking third line in the league.
Yeah.
To me, where the question mark is like, well, what's above that third line?
Yeah.
It's almost like they have 2 really good third lines, and they
Yeah.
don't have like a true second line.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
I can agree with that. Yeah, I can totally see that.
But that being said, there's a lot of players here I really like.
Yeah.
I kind of
I like.
I said, I agonized over this.
Yeah, I like Alex Iafallo. I like Josh Morrissey. I like Dylan Sandberg. I like Neil Pionk. It's just
the West is fucking brutal.
It is, and Central's super brutal.
Yeah.
All right, so that was 5th. So 4th place last year was Nashville, who did make the playoffs.
Yep. It went 47, 30, and 5. That was good for 99 points.
Yep. Good team.
That was the first wild card. We were the second. And then, like we said, this year, 3-2-1, I have
Winnipeg.
And I have Colorado.
So we don't have to talk about it. We just flip-flopped.
We just beat them to death. Let's go to 3.
And 3, last year at 3 was Colorado.
Mm-hmm. They went 50, 25, and 7. That was good for 107 points. This year at 3, it's going to be 3-2-1 Utah. Yeah. We're back on track. We're back in sync, baby.
I love this Utah team.
I love them too, man.
I love it. I don't think they that's kind of where I kept them at was 3rd. I just think they like we talked about is that they were on a roll until that whole relocation.
Yeah, fucking Frank Saravalli and his little grubby tweets
broke it out. He's probably fucking got deals with Colorado and Nashville to make sure they didn't make the playoffs. No, this team is really, really good. This team is young, got a lot of good players. They also got like a lot of good veterans too.
Yeah, it's just, and I think we sang their praises on our hot takes episode because
I love their forwards. The defensive trades are great.
Yeah, because that was one of my hot takes is that they're making the playoffs, and like part of me was tempted to be like as a wild card, but then I was like, no, fuck it, third. Yeah,
that's why I put them
squarely in.
Squarely in. Here's how they have the lineups on the Hockey News. I
already think this is wrong.
I'm gonna make one change immediately. I'm gonna say it's gonna be Keller, Cooley, Schmaltz.
Yeah, probably. Maybe Hayton.
Yeah,
definitely not Bukestad.
Yeah, it's gonna be Keller, Cooley, Schmaltz. Then it's gonna Lawson Krause, Barrett Hayton, Dylan Gunther, and then Matthias Michelli, was excellent, who's amazing. And I would put Bukestad here with Josh Doan. Josh Doan, sleeper Calder guy.
Oh, yeah.
And then Michael Carconi, Kevin Stenlund, and Alexander Kerfoot, who I think is a good 4th line. Stenlund obviously just won a fucking cup.
Yeah, and then they completely revamped this
defense. This defense is really fucking good. Mikhail Sergachev, John Marino, great top pairing. Ian Cole and Sean Durzi. And Sean Durzi's been really, really good. And then their bottom pairing is Yusuf Alamaki, who was good for them last year, and then Michael Kessling, also a good young guy. My only question is, Connor Ingram was good last year. Can the goaltending keep up? Is my whole.
I think it can.
I think it can too.
I'm throwing my
both
my
these guys
bet
are
in on this
the
goalie
same
tandem.
age. This is a kind of a tandem that reminds me of Hill and Thompson.
Yeah, I think when one guy starts to falter, the other guy will pick it up.
Yeah, because you've got Ingram and
remember, for a while, Vejmelka was kind of like he was the starter,
yep.
and kind of the one that was getting starting to get low key hype,
Yep.
And then I wouldn't say he fell off, but then Ingram became the guy, and Ingram carried the torch for a while.
Yep.
I think these are two really good goalies.
I do too. And then you got your scratches as Jack McBain, who's a very good bottom six center.
Yeah, and honestly, who do they have in there? Stenlund,
and also Bukestad. You don't have to play McBain. He can play on the wing too. You can play over Carconi.
I think they're gonna play him. I don't know who comes out.
Yeah, I think maybe Michael Carconi comes out.
But even then,
McBain's younger.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Is this the first time this episode where we said, "Oh wow, you got options for a scratch"?
Yeah, and then you've got Liam O'Brien.
I'm not saying he's great, but
he's a good energy guy. If you need to plug him in, you can play over Kerfoot if you needed him to. And then Robert Bertuzzo, he probably not play that much.
No.
And then they still also have a couple good prospects. They got Akurati, Igor Solikov. I got traded over there. And they've also got, what's his name? Oh, Tijik Inla, who they drafted this year.
That's
a big guy. One. He might play. Cole Baduin might play. He got drafted this year as well. They've got Daniel Boot, who was drafted 2 years ago. He's still young. And they've got Dmitry Simishev, drafted in the same draft. Look at the ages on their prospects in defense. Simishev, Will Skahan. There's a lot of young,
18, 19.
Yeah, a lot of young guys, and then their goaltending pipeline's still pretty good. Mike Villalta was a guy for the Kings, for a while, and they've also got great prospects like Michael Raubel. They've got guys that are on the, on the prospect list that they could trade for another defenseman or a goaltender.
Well, that's a big note that I made was
they've got the ammo.
I'll say this team. I really like this team. This is a young team. This is a fast team. This is a skilled team.
Yep.
I think this is a hugely fucking motivated team.
Yep.
Because they've been the practical joke of the league for years.
I also want to look at the size of the defense. This has been a sticking point for a lot of teams that have won the cup.
Big mobile defense.
6'2", Sergachev. John Marino, 6'1". Ian Cole is 6'1". Sean Dursey, 6 feet. Yusuf Alamaki is 6'2". Michael Kessling is 6'4".
Mm-hmm.
All big, tall, big guys.
Yeah, agreed.
I like this team. I really like this team.
I really like this team, and what I like the most, perhaps, all those things we just mentioned, but also they have cap space to make a fucking move at the deadline.
They saw plenty of money.
So if they're in a playoff position, which I'm pretty goddamn sure they will be, they can go and get someone.
Yeah, Clayton Keller's an all-star. Nick Schmaltz is great.
Nick Schmaltz is so underrated.
Cooley's elite. Matthias Michelli's elite. All these guys are very, very good. This is the best group of forwards we've seen so far.
Yeah, and granted, they're a young group.
But there's still some leaders on this group. You've still got Nick Bukestad. You still have got Lawson Krause, who's still only 27. You've got Kevin Stellan's great to bring in because he just won a cup. Mikhail Sergachev's great to bring in because he's won too.
Yeah. And even Liam O'Brien, he's not a skilled guy or anything, but
he's an energy guy.
He's a good presence in that room.
I 100% agree.
I really like this team. I think it's a balanced attack.
Yeah.
It's a deep attack. It's young. It's fast. It's I love this new defense they built.
Yep.
And like I said, I think the big thing is they finally have a home and they finally have stability. They're not going into games thinking fuck,
where am I going to even come back to my fucking house?
Are we going to finish? Exactly. Are we going to finish this year here? I'm going to have to uproot my family and move. Yep. And to me, one thing that I'm the powers that be are thinking about it, because when the relocation happened, one of the things that Bettman said that stuck with me is we're starting to get to the point where, there was a real possibility of playing playoff games at Mullet, and we just couldn't have that.
Yeah,
so we're basically going to force this relocation
the
now.
The arena was smaller than the Henderson Arena, than Lee's Family Forum, or formerly known as Dollar Loan Center.
Great corporate sponsors there.
Smaller than there. That's impossible to do for an NHL game. But yeah, I think we both have a playoff game. Both of them are 3. We both really like this team. I don't know what else to say.
I'm high on this team.
I am too.
Third place. Book it.
Yep.
It's happening.
I like it. All right. So number 2 last year was Winnipeg.
52, 24, and 6, which was good for, as I said,
Yeah,
110 points. They proved me wrong.
I hope we don't
year.
do it again.
I know, right? We'll see.
All right.
But this year in second is going to be 3, 2, 1,
Nashville.
Nashville. Yeah, we're in sync, baby. We're in sync, folks.
Everything except for Winnipeg. And even then, it was one spot up.
Yeah, no, that was Winnipeg and Colorado, and
So
then
close.
Minnesota and the Blues were two where I was like,
oh yeah,
they're
we
tied together.
No, we didn't have Minnesota and the Blues swap.
No, I mean like those are
tied,
two teams that I had close in the standings where I was like, who goes where?
Exactly. You know? I mean, the moves Nashville's made this year are great. This team got a lot of veterans.
Sensational.
Really good. People talk shit about like the length and the price of some of these contracts. I don't think it matters if they win a cup in the next 2 years.
Agreed.
They could get out of these contracts.
Well, and here's the thing, Alex. The cap is going up.
Yep.
As we know. And I don't just mean for this year. I mean, like, it should, knock on wood, barring another fucking global pandemic.
It should keep going up.
Yes. Yeah. And then also a big thing for me with this team is, they're not just, they had those vets that they brought in. They also have a lot of young guys that I think are ready to take the next step.
Yeah, I do too.
It almost reminds me of like how Dallas did it, you know?
Yeah, I do too. So we'll go through this lineup. So right now, it has it as, this is probably for last year with the new additions. You've got Philip Forsberg, Ryan O'Reilly, Gustav Nyquist.
Forsberg is a fucking wizard.
Yeah, Nyquist had a great year last year, incredible year last year. Then you've got obviously new addition Steven Stamkos, Colton Sissons, and unfortunately Jonathan Marchessault. I don't think Colton Sissons is the second line center. I think it's going to be Tommy Novak.
Probably.
So then you've got Philip Tomasino, Tommy Novak, and Luke Evangelista. All good young guys. Novak's 27, but Evangelista's really, really good. And then you've got Cole Smith, Michael McCarron, and Mark Jankowski. Good fourth line. And then on your defense, you have Roman Josi. Elite. Dante Fabro, who was really good with him. You've got Brady Ski, who's going to be good.
Another great addition. And I corrected you on this once. I think you were drunk, so you don't remember. It's Brady Shea.
Jeez, I don't know why I say Ski. Brady Shea.
Because that's how it's spelled. So it's
Brady Shea. Sorry,
well, he's
Brady.
American, so
yeah, whatever. Brady Shea, Alexander Carrier.
I really like Alexander Carrier.
And then Jeremy Lauzon and Luke Shen. Good defense. And then obviously UC Soros, who's been amazing for a while, and Scott Wedgwood, who's a very good backup.
Fantastic goalie tandem.
And then their scratches are actually pretty solid here. Juuso Parssinen.
I will say I would put Parssinen in. I don't know why they have him as a scratch.
He's an RFA. I think I'd put him in over Tomasino. He's very good. Or no, you could put him in a center. You could.
I was like, because even then, Tomasino's a good young player too. Both those guys need ice time.
You could bump out like Cole Smith or Jankowski, but Jankowski is like a good fourth line guy. He's big.
Well, hey, it's like we just said. Hey, we're finally in the tier. We're like, oh my god, they have options.
Yeah, and then Spencer Stastny is also very good. He's on a scratch on their defense. You can plug him in when you want to. And then they've got a few young guys. They've got Joakim Kamel, who's very good. Fedor Shevkov. And
even a few veterans in the minors.
Zachary
Hinostroza, Bellows.
Yeah, you got some guys. And then
Ozzy Weisblatt.
And then let's see. Obviously, they traded away Yaroslav Askarov, but they got back Edstrom.
I was saying now. I was about to say David Edstrom, a good young center.
They've got
ready soon.
Matthew Wood, Igor Sturin, and Felix Nielsen, all their kind of top-end forward prospects. They really don't got that many top-end defense prospects, but this team is good. They got guys they can plug in if they need to. I just like this team. I like the moves they made.
Me too. And
I like the slow build they had.
Well, I was going to say the opposite. I don't think it was a slow build. Part of me was like, it almost feels like they fast forwarded it.
I thought everybody thought last year they were going to go, oh, we're back in it. But then he's like, let's make some smart moves, and then this year they're like, let's do it. Let's punch it.
Well, because I think what people were expecting was they're just gonna, when Trotz took over, I think everyone's assumption is like this is going to be a traditional teardown. They're going to sell every good player they have. They're going to rip it down to the bones. And then in 7 years, all these first-round picks might add up to something. But he really didn't do that. He did sell some pieces, obviously. Bought out some guys. Got rid of Duchesne, Hansen. But they kept Forsberg.
They brought in O'Reilly.
Yeah, so they brought in O'Reilly. They kept Saros, obviously. They kept
Yossi.
Yep. They kept a lot of their core, and then they added, and a lot of people are like, why are you bringing in good players? You're just going to be one of these murky middle teams.
They're not middle. I would call them top end. Like
I was saying, and last year, you can call them murky middle in the sense that they were a wild card and they lost in the first round. But with these additions this year,
they look a lot better. A lot better.
High end probably will be high end for at least another 2-3 years, and then hopefully those young guys start to step up as the cap goes up.
But
yeah, the thing I wrote down was this feels like Smashville of old. You know,
I agree.
This feels like vintage Smashville right here. They added 2 40-goal scorers. Unfortunately, one of them was one of ours.
And they still have youth on the team.
Yeah, exactly. They
added Brady Shea,
Parsonen, Tomasino, Evangelista. So it's not like they don't have. It's not like they're hurting for youth.
Yeah,
like the way a lot of teams that are trying to compete are.
And they've got guys that could come up and play. Like,
and just imagine how fucking nasty that power play is going to be.
Oh yeah, like you're gonna have a power play of Forsberg, O'Reilly, Stammer, Marshy, and then Yossi. Nasty.
That's like guaranteed goals.
Basically. Yeah, exactly. And Philip Forsberg is an animal.
He's a fucking wizard.
Yeah, this team is good. I think this team finished second. Like, we both agree second. This team is just gonna be very good. And then obviously we can go 3-2-1 again. But last year, first place was Dallas.
52, 21, and 9, 113 points. Yeah, pretty goddamn good.
Pretty goddamn good. Beat us in the first round, barely.
Fuckers.
Barely beat us.
Fuckers. I hate this team. But they're very good. So 3-2-1 Dallas. It's funny though. I do think they got a little worse.
The Dallas, yeah. So I wrote down that their forwards are
still very good.
Yeah, their forwards are still elite. Coaching is still great.
They obviously lost Pavelski. Yeah,
but
he's fucking 40.
But you're gonna replace that with fucking Maverick Bork.
Yeah. Well, let's go through it. Jason Robertson, Rupe Hintz, Wyatt Johnston.
Amazing.
Mason
Marchment, Matthew
I still
Shane.
can't get over how young Wyatt Johnston is.
He's only 21 years old.
Yeah.
Jason Robertson is only also 25.
Yeah. This is a young team, man.
Yeah.
But they're very good. And they already have a lot of playoff experience.
Yeah, exactly. Mason Marchment, Matthew Shane, Tyler Sagan, Jamie Benn, Maverick Bork, Logan Stankoven.
Stank.
So Bork is 22. Stankoven played really well in the playoffs. He's only 21.
Mm-hmm.
And then Evgeny Dadonov, Sam Steele, and Colin Blackwell. This defense is kind of where it all falls apart for me. But that forward group is just...
I'm not going to say falls apart because there's 3 guys here that I really like.
Yeah, there is. But
it definitely is worse than last year.
This forward group is very good, but I also just I glance back at the years. Wyatt Johnston's owed money. He's not going to take a discount.
Why would he?
RFA in 2025. Matthew Shane's a UFA in 2025. Maverick Bork is an RFA in 2025. Jamie Benn's an RFA is a UFA in 25. He'll take a deal. He'll take a minimum deal. He'll be gone. Dadonov is a UFA. Steele's a UFA. Blackwell's a UFA. So there's a lot of 1-year guys on this team right now.
That can be a motivator, man. These guys
definitely.
They're all playing for contracts.
I do think so.
And they're all playing for their last hurrah together.
So defense, this top pairing I really, really like. It's Thomas Harley and Miro Heiskanen, but Harley is still unsigned as an RFA. And the other problem is this team only has about $6 million in cap space. And Harley's owed more than $6 million.
He is, but I think given the team's position...
Maybe tell him you get 2 years and you get more money.
Well, yeah, because, Robertson's on a bridge right now.
Yeah, Otter's on a bridge right now, too.
Yeah, I don't think Jim Neal's too worried about it.
Yeah.
I think it'll get done. I think it'll be a bridge.
Yeah, it has to be a bridge. Tell him to take 1 or 2 years at 6, whatever the cap is, he'll do it, and tell him, hey, we're working on it. And then from there, you've got Essa Lindell.
Love him.
And then Matt Dumba at, frankly, way too much money, 3.75.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to say I don't know what they're thinking, but obviously I don't know what the pulse is on the market was or whatever.
That's just a lot of money for Dumba.
Yeah, then Ilya Lyubushkin,
who's solid as a bottom pairing, but $3.25 million. And then Niels Lundqvist, who's basically unplayable.
I don't want to go too hard on him because he is young. I'm going to phrase it this way: he has to take a step.
He has to.
He has to take a step.
Yeah,
you can't, because Peter DeBoer made it to the 3rd round of the playoffs, and he's like, "I'm not playing him.
Yeah,
we're going to play 5 defensemen tonight. I don't give a shit."
Yeah, and then
because every time in our series, at least, every time he was on the ice, it was like an immediate goal.
Yeah, and I wrote down question mark was his name Lean Bichelle, who came in at, they brought him in to play instead of Lundqvist because of how bad Lundqvist is, and Bichelle's only 20 years old, but he's also huge, 6'6", 216. So he might play some games. And then you also have Brendan Smith. You signed a contract in, but I don't think you expect him to play a lot.
Where the fuck did he play?
He's 36 years old. I think he was with New Jersey for a little bit. Brendan Smith.
I'm not afraid to admit I don't know who the fuck that is.
I think he was with New Jersey. And then goaltenders. the backup got worse. You
Yeah.
got Otter and then Casey DeSmith, who's not been great.
Yeah, Smith, that's not a great backup.
Yeah.
Otter, I think
still good.
we have similar opinions where I don't want to say I don't like him or that he's not good, because he is good.
He's good.
I think he's a little overrated.
I do too. Off that Calgary series.
Yeah, he can be inconsistent, we'll say.
Very. And then he's coming off, 2 years removed from his most injured season. Last year he had some injuries. He's a good goaltender in the league. It's just he needs to stay consistent. And then their scratches are Matej Blumel. I have no idea who that is.
No.
Oscar Back, I think, was with their AHL affiliate, and then Brendan Smith, and then their obviously the prospects we talked about, Lean Bichelle, who I think is very good.
Got Cole Lind.
And Cole Lind, who's
most well known for going in the Seattle expansion draft.
I wouldn't call him a prospect anymore. I call him
doing nothing.
An AHL player.
Maybe not a prospect, but maybe a call up.
Yeah,
maybe a call.
And then we got there's another guy. Antonio Stranges is a guy that kind of intrigues me. A guy that should have been higher in the draft, but he went like middle of rounds. He's pretty decent.
Oh, wait, I didn't know Kyle Capobianco was on this team.
Kyle Capobianco is serviceable. He was with Arizona for a long time. He's pretty decent. And then Leon Bichelle, we talked about him. So they got some guys that are younger guys. They got some younger defensive guys.
They have guys that can call up.
But I think this team is not as good as they were last year.
Definitely not.
Obviously, the forwards are pretty much the same. I think the forwards are incredible. That's a hard lineup to play against, but that defense is probably worse they've been. I would say outside of Harley and Heiskanen and Lundell, this defense is the worst it's been in a few years.
Agreed. Which is saying something in the sense like, well, 3 of those guys are fucking
new,
electric.
Yeah.
And then the other 3 are kind of eh. This team, the young guys, the core guys are so fucking electric.
Oh, 100%.
You know, Hintz, fucking Robertson, Johnston, Stank, Harley,
Heiskanen.
This team is really good. There might be some question marks here and there, but the core is...
Yeah, I think it keeps it rolling. Yeah, and, but DeBoer...
They're going to be a fucking problem for the rest of our window.
Oh, yeah, 100%, because they have the same window, especially with Johnston. I think that our biggest hope is that they're going to have to pay a lot of guys all at once. But even then, the cap goes up, and some of these guys aren't going to ask for that much. But
I was going to say, I wouldn't say we have the same window, because all their better players are like 5 years younger than our best players.
Yeah, but they're owed money now. That's the biggest deal. Like Bork's owed money next year. He's going to want a big raise. Johnson's going to want a huge raise. Ben will probably take a sweetheart deal. Obviously,
I was going to say, I can see how it's going to work out right now. Ben's going to be off the books or on a discount. Then by the time Johnson's due, the cap's going to go up fucking $6 million.
Johnson's due next year.
Yeah, I guess.
Justin's due next year. Duchesne's due next year. Bork's due next year.
I don't know if they're going to even resign Duchesne.
And then Stankoven's due the year after. Robertson's due the year after. And then Ottinger's due next year. So there's a lot of contracts here.
It'll get hairy. But...
I think Jim Neal can do it. Jim Neal's he's won the GM of the year 2 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
I think he can figure it out. I mean, if he doesn't, we'll see.
He should be praising his fucking scouting staff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They want him that award.
Oh yeah. These draft picks are insane. I mean, we're already getting close to 2 hours, but Jason Robertson 39th, Hintz 49th, Johnson 23rd, Bork 30th, Stankoven 47, Essen Lundell 74th.
Stank is the one. And by the way,
Ottinger 26th.
Yeah, and by the way, Stankoven, he's winning the Calder, right? Like,
is he eligible?
He is, and a lot of people don't even have him as the favorite. I'm like, that's insane.
Bork could win the Calder too. I would say it's Bork, Stankoven, and Doan. I don't think Celebrini is going to win the Calder.
Well, that's the thing. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's like Connor Bedard because he's a different level, but it's the whole thing where it's like the first overall pick always gets all this attention, and at the end of the day, it comes down to
we'll get
to journalists writing for it.
We'll get there next week.
Yeah, maybe we'll
San
do
Jose's
an episode about that.
Talk shit.
Oh yeah, they will. But also with Chicago, but Bedard still won, even though Brock Faber was playing 28 minutes a night on a team that almost made the playoffs.
Team. Yep.
But anyways, we'll worry about that later.
Yeah.
But point being, Stankoven
Dallas is nasty.
Is the real deal.
Stankoven's great.
We saw what he did against us in the playoffs.
This team is amazing. Yeah. I think they finished first. And
Yeah, I hate them though.
I do.
Fuck
I know.
Dallas.
They're getting on the list of.
And Peter DeBoer is a great coach.
He is. I don't give a shit what people say. DeBoer is a great coach.
Yep.
Next week, we're going to talk about the finale of our season previews.
The Pacific, including where we match up.
Yep.
Spoiler alert, I have no fucking clue.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with this division at all.
I know San Jose and Anaheim are going to be bad.
Yeah, and that's about where I'm at as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Those bottom two were spoken for.
Yeah. But until then, stay gold.
Stay gold, my friends.